Have you ever felt like you're living the same year over and over again? Like you're an actor in a play where you know all the lines, but you can't seem to change the ending? You find yourself drawn to the same kind of partner, the one who sparks that familiar blend of excitement and inevitable disappointment. You face the same hurdles at work, that invisible ceiling you can never quite break through. You fight the same internal battles, wrestling with a sense of anxiety or inadequacy that feels like it's part of your very DNA. You make a resolution to change, you feel a surge of determination, and for a while, things are different. But then, slowly, subtly, the old patterns creep back in. The current of your life pulls you back to the same familiar shore, and you're left wondering, why does this always happen to me? What if I told you this wasn't fate? What if it wasn't bad luck or a flaw in your character? What if your life, in its most profound and painful patterns, is following a script that was written a long, long time ago when you were a child? A script you've long since forgotten you authored, but one you continue to perform, scene by scene, day after day, without even realizing it. This script is the invisible architect of your choices, the silent director of your emotions, the hidden force that shapes your reality. It is the reason why, despite all your conscious efforts to build a new life, you keep finding yourself on the set of an old movie. And until you make that script conscious, until you bring its words out of the darkness and into the light, you will remain its captive actor. But the day you realize you are not just the actor, but also the writer, is the day you can finally pick up the pen and write a new ending. This journey into the heart of your own story can be unsettling. It requires you to look at the foundations of who you think you are. But if you're tired of the reruns, if you're ready to stop auditioning for roles you don't want, and if you're willing to finally understand the force that has been secretly running your life, then you are in the right place. Because true freedom doesn't come from changing your circumstances. It comes from changing the story that creates them. The idea of a life script comes from a brilliant psychologist named Berne, the founder of transactional analysis. He proposed that by the time we are around 7 years old, we have already decided on the broad strokes of our life story. We have written a drama, complete with a beginning, a middle, and an end. We have cast ourselves in a leading role, decided if we will be a winner, a loser, or someone who almost makes it. We have determined what kind of people we will surround ourselves with, how we will feel most of the time, and what our final curtain call will look like. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? How could a child, with their limited understanding of the world, make such sweeping decisions? They do it out of necessity. A child's world is a confusing and often overwhelming place, dominated by giants, their parents and caretakers, who hold all the power. Their survival depends entirely on figuring out the rules of this world, and fast. What do I have to do to be loved? What do I have to do to be safe? What gets me attention? What makes the giants angry? To answer these questions, the child becomes a detective, constantly gathering clues from the world around them. They listen not just to what their parents say, but to what they don't say. They watch what their parents do, how they handle stress, how they show love, how they treat themselves and each other. From this sea of spoken and unspoken messages, the child starts to form beliefs. These beliefs are not abstract philosophies. They are survival strategies. They are the building blocks of the script. These foundational messages are what Berne called injunctions and drivers. Injunctions are the don't messages we absorb, often non-verbally. They are prohibitions on our natural way of being. Messages like, don't feel, which might be transmitted in a family where emotions are ignored or punished. The child learns that feelings are dangerous and decides, to be safe and loved, I must not show my emotions. Or the message, don't be a child, given to a kid who is forced to grow up too fast, taking on adult responsibilities. They write a script that says, my value comes from being serious and responsible, not from play. Other powerful injunctions include, don't think, don't be important, don't belong, and one of the most devastating, don't exist. These aren't just words. They are permissions that are withheld, leading a child to build a life strategy around that lack. Alongside these prohibitions are the driver messages. These are the conditions we believe we must meet to be okay. They feel like a constant, nagging pressure from within. The 5 most common are: be perfect, be strong, try hard, please others, and hurry up. If you were praised only for flawless achievements, you might adopt a be perfect script, believing that any mistake makes you unworthy of love. If you were told to stop crying and be tough, you might develop a be strong script, seeing any vulnerability as a catastrophic failure. The please others script leads you to abandon your own needs to take care of everyone else, terrified of disapproval. The try hard script convinces you that the effort is more important than the result, leading you to a life of struggle without success. And the hurry up script creates a constant sense of frantic anxiety, as if you're always running out of time. The child takes all these messages, all these observations, all these early experiences of joy and pain, and weaves them into a coherent story. A story that makes sense of their world and gives them a plan to survive in it. The tragedy is that this story, created from a child's limited perspective, becomes an unconscious blueprint for their entire adult life. It's a survival guide for a world that no longer exists, yet we follow it as if it were sacred text, completely unaware that we are the ones who wrote it. Once you understand that a script is running in the background, your life starts to look very different. The random misfortunes start to look like scenes from a play. The recurring problems start to sound like dialogue you've spoken 1,000 times before. These scripts come in several common themes. See if any of these sound familiar to you. First, there is the until script, also known as the waiting for Santa Claus script. A person living this script operates under the belief, I cannot have what I truly want until a certain condition is met. They tell themselves, I'll allow myself to be happy until I get the promotion. I can relax and enjoy life until I find the perfect partner. I'll feel good about myself until I lose 20 pounds. Life becomes an endless waiting room. They postpone joy, peace, and fulfillment, always waiting for some external event to grant them permission to live. But the cruel twist of this script is that even if they achieve the goal, the script finds a new condition. The promotion comes, but then happiness is postponed until they buy a house. The house is bought, but then it's postponed until the kids are grown. It is a life lived in the future, a future that never arrives, because the script's core purpose is to keep them waiting, never to let them arrive. Then there is the almost script. This is the script of Sisyphus, the Greek mythological figure doomed to forever push a boulder up a hill, only to have it roll back down just before he reaches the top. People with an almost script are masters of near success. They almost graduate, but drop out in the final semester. They are the favored candidate for the dream job, but they bomb the final interview. They build a wonderful relationship that is on the track to commitment, and then they do something to sabotage it right at the end. Their life is a series of so close, yet so far moments. Unconsciously, their script dictates that they are not allowed to succeed, so they arrange their lives to get tantalizingly close to the finish line, only to ensure they stumble just before crossing it. This allows them to tell their story. I try so hard, but something always goes wrong at the last minute. It protects them from the fear of what success might actually mean. We also see the never script. This is a script of deep-seated deprivation. The core belief is simply, I will never get what I truly want. A person with this script doesn't just believe this, they make it their reality. They will unconsciously choose partners who are unavailable, ensuring they never have the love they crave. They will stay in jobs far below their potential, proving they can never have a fulfilling career. Their life is a grim confirmation of their deepest fear. They see others achieving things and think, that's for other people, not for me. It is a profoundly sad script because it shuts down hope and arranges life as a long, drawn-out proof of personal unworthiness. And of course, there is the always script. This is the script of the person who seems to lurch from one predictable drama to another. Why do I always end up with people who betray me? Why do I always get into financial trouble, right when things are getting good? Unlike the almost script, where they snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, the always script is about recreating the same emotional environment over and over again. They might have grown up in a chaotic home, and so their script demands they continually create chaos in their adult life, because, as stressful as it is, it feels familiar. It feels like home. They become a magnet for the very situations they claim to hate, because the script running in the background says, "This is your world. This is how life is." These are just a few examples. Scripts can be about anything: our health, our wealth, our relationships, our intelligence. But they all have one thing in common. They operate from the shadows. They are the unconscious force that makes you call your life fate. You think you are making a free choice, but you are choosing from a menu that was written for you, by you, decades ago. And as long as you are unaware of the menu, you will keep ordering the same meal and wondering why you always feel the same way afterward. So how do we find it? How do we read the pages of a book we don't even know exists? Discovering your own life script is like being an archaeologist of your own mind. You are digging for the ruins of an ancient civilization, the one built by the child you once were. The clues are not buried in some distant, inaccessible place. They are scattered all around you, hidden in plain sight in the patterns of your daily life. You just need to learn how to see them. The first place to look is at the story you tell about yourself. When someone asks about your life, what is the narrative that comes out? Is it a tragedy, a comedy of errors, a heroic struggle, a boring tale where nothing ever happens? Pay close attention to the recurring themes and the ending you project. The stories we tell are not random. They are the press release for our script. They are the way we justify and explain the life our script forces us to live. When you hear yourself say, "That's just my luck," or "story of my life," you are hearing the voice of your script. Next, you must identify what transactional analysts call your racket feeling. A racket feeling is your favorite bad feeling. It's the emotion you default to when under stress. It's the familiar, uncomfortable state that you return to again and again. For some, it's a low-grade anxiety. For others, it's a simmering anger, a profound sadness, or a nagging guilt. Think about the last few times you were truly upset. Was it the same flavor of feeling? When we are in our script, we unconsciously maneuver situations to allow us to feel this specific emotion. Why? Because this was the emotion that was permitted or even encouraged in our childhood home. Maybe anger was the only emotion that got any attention, so you learned to turn sadness and fear into anger. You now run a racket of anger. You feel it so often, not because the world is constantly making you angry, but because your script is constantly looking for excuses to feel that familiar, safe, bad feeling. Another powerful clue is to examine your heroes and villains from childhood. Which characters in stories, myths, or fairy tales did you deeply identify with? The triumphant hero, the suffering martyr, the clever trickster who gets away with things, the lonely princess waiting to be rescued? These early identifications are often the first drafts of our own scripted role. They give us a narrative framework for our own life. That character's journey gave you a template for your own, a path to follow when you didn't know what to do. Finally, and most directly, you must ask yourself, what were the most important messages I received as a child about myself, about others, and about the world? Think about the spoken and unspoken rules of your family. What was praised? What was punished? What topics were forbidden? What were your parents' own scripts? What did they believe about life, love, and money? We are often living out a version of, or a rebellion against, our parents' scripts. I'll be successful to make up for my father's failures, or I'll never be vulnerable like my mother was. Both of these are script decisions, tethered to the past. This exploration is not about blame. Blaming your parents keeps you in the passenger seat. The point is to understand, with adult eyes, the environment in which your script was written. When you can look at those messages and say, that was their story, not mine, you have taken the first step toward freedom. Making your script conscious is a profound and sometimes shocking experience. It's like the moment in a movie when the main character realizes the world they live in is a simulation. It changes everything. But awareness by itself is not enough. You can know your script inside and out and still be compelled to perform it. Awareness is the key that unlocks the prison door, but you still have to have the courage to walk through it. And that requires a conscious, deliberate decision to rewrite your story. This is where the real work begins. It is the part of the journey where the adult you finally takes the stage and claims the role of director. The first act is to give yourself permission to change. Your original script was built on a foundation of don'ts. Don't feel, don't succeed, don't be you. Rewriting the script starts by giving yourself a new set of permissions. You, as the adult you are today, have the authority to grant them. You can give yourself permission to feel all your emotions, permission to succeed, and to handle that success, permission to be your authentic self, even if others don't approve, permission to rest, permission to be more important than other people's problems. This may feel foolish at first, to literally say to yourself, I give myself permission to put my needs first, but it is a profoundly powerful act. You are overriding the old, restrictive programming with a new, expansive command. The next step is to make what is called a redecision. Your original script was based on a decision you made as a child to survive. The redecision is a choice you make as an adult to live. It is a conscious rejection of the old story's ending. You look at the core belief that has driven your life. I am unworthy. I must be perfect. I will always be alone. And you say, that was a decision a child made to make sense of a confusing world. I thank that child for protecting me, but I am an adult now, and that decision no longer serves me. Today, I decide something new. You decide that you are worthy of love, that good enough is a beautiful place to be, that you are capable of creating deep and meaningful connections. This redecision is your declaration of independence from the past. But declarations are just air, unless they are backed by action. The final and most crucial step is to actively and consistently behave in ways that are off script. A new script is not written with ink. It is written with new choices. If your script says, please others, your new action is to say no to a request without a long, guilty explanation. If your script is be strong, your new action is to confide in a trusted friend and share a vulnerability. If your script is almost, your new action is to finish a project, to hit send on the application, to allow yourself to cross the finish line and deal with the feelings that come with it. Each of these off-script actions will feel terrifying at first. Your internal system will sound every alarm. The script will scream, danger! You're breaking the rules! You won't be safe! You won't be loved! Your job is to feel that fear and do it anyway. Every time you take an action that contradicts the old narrative, you are providing your psyche with new data. You are showing yourself that you can say no and the world doesn't end. You can be imperfect and people still love you. You can succeed and you can handle it. With each new action, the neural pathways of the old script weaken and the pathways of the new one grow stronger. You are literally rewiring your brain. This is how you don't just understand your new story, you become it. The journey of rewriting your life script is the ultimate act of self-love and liberation. It's a recognition that your life is not a predetermined path you are forced to walk, but an open field of infinite possibility. The child you were did the best they could. They wrote a story to keep you safe in a world they didn't understand. But you are no longer that child, and you no longer live in that world. You are an adult with wisdom, experience, and the power to choose. Your past may have written the first draft, but you hold the pen now. The pages ahead are blank. You have the power to write a story of joy, of connection, of peace, of fulfillment. A story where you are not the victim, but the hero. Not the actor, but the author. It will require courage to face the old ghosts. It will require discipline to make new choices when the old ones feel so easy. And it will require a deep and abiding compassion for the child who wrote the first script, not out of malice, but out of a desperate need for love. If this message has resonated with you, if you feel a stirring of recognition within you, then your journey has already begun. Subscribe to our channel, Psychetapes, to continue exploring the map of your inner world. The greatest story you will ever tell is the one you decide to live. So I ask you, what is one rule from your old script that you are willing to break this week? Let us know in the comments below. Let's declare that we are ready to write a new chapter, Because your story is not over. The best part is yet to be written.